Hello, we are live on the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Of course, Big D here. Before I bring in my special guest, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where you see all my content. Today we're talking Chiefs Jags, so we've got all kinds. So, week 2 of the NFL season coming. Also, check out the Big D podcast, already all of your listens, Spotify and Apple. So, joining us, whether we're talking weather, NASCAR, or in this case, Kansas City Chiefs against my Jacksonville Jaguars, Dennis, or as he goes by his Twitter handle, at DMICmedia is available. So, Dennis, this is, I was looking forward to a Kansas City Jacksonville game, but I don't remember the last time the Chiefs started 0-1 and the Jags started 1-0.
It's been a while. You are the keeper of all records, memory wise. I have a hard time figuring out where I left my car keys yesterday, but it's amazing the statistics that you can pull out of thin air. That's the way your great mind works when it comes to NFL stats, to NASCAR stats, whatever. But I just want to remind you, defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chief. Had to wear the hat today for this podcast.
You did beat the Jags twice, once in the regular season, 27-17, and then in the division round, 27-20. What's with the Chiefs always putting up 27 points against my Jags?
Well, the Jaguars have a good defense, but they can give up the big plays. And that's what Kansas City is really good at. Patrick Mahomes is just a miracle worker. I've been watching football a lot longer than you have, young man, and I have never in my life seen a quarterback that can create things out of thin air like Patrick Mahomes. The only one that came close to me, and it wasn't really in his NFL days, it was his Canadian football days, was Warren Moon. They just find a way to will their team to victory. And that's what's made the Chiefs so dangerous. And last week we saw that Mahomes almost pulled off a win without his main man, Travis Kelsey. I don't think he's ever not been having Travis Kelsey there to kind of bail him out on plays. And, it just amazes me, Big D, that year in, year out, we see Travis Kelsey make these clutch plays on 3rd and long, or, making the big play to keep a drive along going. And yet he keeps finding open space in defenses. He's either really good or defenses lose this guy. And I just don't understand that. I'd be trying to knock him on his fanny every snap and take the occasional penalty because when he gets in open space, he's just an unbelievable playmaker. And he's got the best quarterback in the business to get him the ball.
Do you think it was solely that Travis Kelsey didn't play last Thursday night? Why Detroit
No,
won?
no, not at all. Not at all. I'm not blaming it on Kelsey not being there because Noah Gray and Blake Bell actually looked pretty good doing those similar roles, especially in the red zone when Blake Bell was able to cash in for that score. And he was actually lined up in that Kelsey role with Gray sort of being the legal pick for him. I don't blame Kelsey's loss or missing Kelsey last week for the loss. They just played a bad game. They 7 drops, 7 drops. I can't remember the last time the Chiefs had 7 drops, and one of those drops was the winning touchdown because it ended up being the difference in the game. I was also a little bit critical, and I'm never critical of Andy Reid, but when you're facing a good offense like Detroit, and you're early in that season where you're not sure if this offense is all of a sudden going to click, when you're up by 3, I think you go for it. I think you try to go and keep the ball going and drive down for that score to get a 2-score advantage and put the game away. The Chiefs are used to just being able to grind these wins out. I will say one thing, Big D. I was very impressed by that Chiefs defense. That's a very young defense, but boy, can they hit. Every single one of those guys in the defensive backfield, they could just, lay you out. They're just good hard hitters. it actually reminds me, it's a flashback now, team-wise and team defense-wise, to the early Chiefs of the late 60s and early 70s that had these guys that just could hit you, and they could just they were good hard hitters out on that football field, whether it was the offense or the defensive line, guys like Curly Culp, whether it was Willie Lanier at middle linebacker, or it was any of the many great uh, defensive backs they had. This team reminds me of that. It's a very youthful, very fast moving, and good hitting defense. If they can give up 14 points, which the defense only gave up 14 of the 21, they gave up, the offense gave up half as many points as their defense. I think we're in good shape if the defense just gives up 14 points a week.
I mean, it was an uncharacteristic Kansas City game because the Kansas City receivers couldn't catch a cold in Alaska. I mean, Kadarius Toney basically played defensive back because that's all he did. I mean, that one play where Mahomes threw the pass right where he wanted, and then all of a sudden Brian Branch just happened to be in the right place. He was and scored the easiest touchdown he'll score this season. So that's a fluky thing. I mean, the offensive line was okay. I mean, Kansas City's great in the interior. The two tackles. I mean, Jawan Taylor basically got away with false start in the whole game.
That's been his specialty his whole career, though. I was kind of surprised when the announcers were surprised by this because I've been watching him line up off the line and getting that early jump his whole career.
And I mean, we can check because he was in Jacksonville before he went.
I know, and I really liked that addition. I actually think that their offensive tackles are a little better than they were last year, which is kind of crazy to say. The only thing is he's got the tendency to do the false start, and the tackle on the other side's got the tendency to get called for holding a lot. So you're going to rack up a few more penalties maybe this year. But if the penalty doesn't get called, it ain't a penalty. So I think these guys play to the edge of the rules better than any other pair of offensive tackles in the league right now.
Well, I mean, Kansas City only got 3 penalties. It was a low penalty game, so I mean, you can't. So, I mean, I didn't see that many flags on the field.
No, there weren't many flags on the field, but those two offensive tackles are notorious for trying to get away with that little extra gray area. It's like a good NASCAR crew chief. You find the gray area in the rules and you exploit it. But historically, both of those guys have been flagged a lot in their careers, but they're also tremendous players. And I think getting a little younger again at the tackle position might be good too, because those two guys seem to be the type that play through injuries quite a bit. So I'm expecting pretty good things from the offensive line. I was a little concerned by the lack of a rushing game against Detroit, but we don't know how much better Detroit got this year. So this week against Jacksonville, a defense that we know is really strong and really solid, but not a top 5 defense, but they're a good, solid defense. We'll get a better chance to see if that rushing attack for the Chiefs is going to have anything at all. If it doesn't, if this is what we're going to see with the offense, we're going to see a lot of Patrick Mahomes, which is great in my fantasy football teams because I'm heavily invested.
As you find out, I'm invested in Trevor because he's my dynasty and my guillotine quarterback.
Ooh, that's a good choice. I know he did not look great all game last week. That offense looked like it had a little rust early, but they got the win. They were good enough to get the win, and I think you're going to see that offense just clicking this year. Calvin Ridley looked like he didn't even miss a game, did he? I mean, he just looked fantastic. And Tank Bigsby is a great addition too. He is a very, very powerful runner. I
Although,
really
yeah,
look.
I'll be honest with you, he's got to learn they play to the whistle in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, that was a big mistake. All he's gotta do there is take the knee. He's just gotta all he's gotta do is give himself up. Take the knee when you get the ball. That's all you need to do. Just standing around with the ball on your hip is not a good idea. You do have to play to the whistle, but I'm just that twosome of Etienne and Bigsby is going to drive teams crazy all year. And now you got three really solid wide receivers. I think we're going to continue to see Kirk lose some of those targets he was getting last year to Ridley. But what a great trio you've got for wide receivers this year. Trevor Lawrence is going to have a big year, and I'm heavily invested in Trevor this year as well in fantasy.
Yeah, let me tell you, Calvin Ridley looked like. I mean, I wasn't. I was more thinking Calvin Ridley would be like Jamar Chase because Jamar Chase didn't play the 2020 college season at LSU, and then came back with Joe Burrow and looked like he never missed a beat.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley didn't miss the season through injury. He missed the season because he made one too many bets.
He missed a season and a half, though, because he did have an injury the year before that cost him games, and then he missed the whole season. You always wonder how good a shape guys are going to be in football shape. These guys are workout warriors. They're in top physical shape, but it's a whole lot different when you get that first hit of the season. Calvin Ridley looked great. He was a really good acquisition for the Jaguars. That makes them one of the teams to beat this year because last year they were certainly one of the teams to beat, and now they're much more dangerous because last year they had good receivers. They didn't have that one great receiver. This year they've got the good, really solid receivers, plus they've got their true alpha who can just dominate a game. He's like a Stephon Diggs, where he isn't gonna Tyreek Hill you to death, but he's gonna find those gaps and he's gonna get catch after catch after catch. And by the time you look up, he's got like 7 or 8 catches. You're like, wait a minute, it's only the third quarter. This guy can put up some incredible numbers because he's one of the better route runners in the league, I think.
Yeah, and plus, in many ways, I think Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback Calvin Ridley's ever played, and
Ooh.
that's saying something because Matty Ice won an MVP, but I think Trevor Lawrence's upside's better.
Oh, Trevor Lawrence has that ability to get the ball into those tighter spots than Matty Ice did. Matty Ice, if his guy was open, he'd hit him. But if you had to depend on him kind of like threading that needle on a tough third and long, I don't think he was the guy to get the job done. Trevor Lawrence has a way of playing smart football, but being a risk taker. And I like that about Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be a tremendous quarterback in the NFL. Dare I say, maybe he's the second best quarterback in the AFC. And that's saying a lot.
Joe
That's
Burrow
saying a lot.
and Justin Herbert are going to have something to say about that, but
Well, it's saying a lot, man. I'm telling you, I love Justin Herbert too, and obviously Josh Allen is all world when he doesn't turn the ball over. And then you got Joe Burrow. I mean, you got a lot of talent in the AFC, but Trevor Lawrence is just getting started, guys. He hasn't had that dominant wideout to play with. Yet last year, he put up stats that were quite impressive. This year, he gets Calvin Ridley. You keep him healthy. You got Bigsby and Etienne coming out of the backfield. You got Ingram. You got a full, tough offense there that can run the ball to take the heat off the rush and then give Trevor Lawrence the ball when you got to get things done. He's going to get it done for you. And he's got really good ball security. He's not going to turn the ball over a lot. And that's going to be a key to them winning in real football. But I'm really impressed with Trevor Lawrence. That first year, it was almost criminal how bad the coaching was down there in Jacksonville. and he had to put up with it his rookie year. We saw last year that give him a good coach who knows how to put an offense together in the NFL, and he's going to be a really good player.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Travis Etienne, because Etienne actually looked what I thought he would be coming out of Clemson, because Etienne had not really been a big receiver, and he caught 5 passes last week, ran the ball 18 times. So if Etienne gets 20 touches a game, 4 or 5 out the backfield, I think Etienne could break one, as we saw a few times. He's got that game burst and speed.
Right now in the AFC, I think the two guys that scare me the most when they get the ball are Breece Hall and Travis Etienne. It's
Maybe,
not
maybe,
the
maybe that guy who used to penetrate your neck of the woods too.
Well, from the running back position, we'll clarify. Those two guys are just electric. They're fun to watch. The only thing I don't like about watching Travis Etienne is that he's not playing in a Chiefs uniform. Man, that guy would be sensational with Patrick Holmes getting him the ball, or Mahomes getting the ball. But I look at this and I look at this team that the Jaguars are putting together, and I'm just happy to see it. Those poor Jacksonville Jaguar fans like yourself, you guys have suffered enough. It's time to have a good, solid team that it seems to be run well in the front office. Your team owner is actually a University of Illinois guy just down the road from me, and well regarded around the campus still to this day. But they're putting together a team that will be good every year. They're not putting a team together that's going to be a flash in the pan one year, and then the next year you're like, same old Jaguars again.
Well, this week's game against Kansas City is a big opportunity, because yeah, Kansas City reigning Super Bowl champs, coming off a rare season opening loss, which I don't remember Pat Mahomes losing many games in September. But I think if you're going to play the Chiefs, this is the time to play it, because thinking back to both games last year, the Jaguars couldn't sniff Mahomes when he missed a few series with that ankle injury, Chad Henne. And be honest with you, I was there's a part of me hoping Travis Kelce doesn't play because he killed us last year, but part of me thinking I want Travis Kelce to play, because I think it's better when you play a team that's at full strength.
Yeah, and we're going to get the big guy back, Chris Jones, on the defense. And while I don't think his absence was the reason that the Chiefs lost last week, because the defense played great, when you get a guy like Jones where you can line him up anywhere, look at what Detroit did with Aiden Hutchinson. They were kind of lining him up everywhere to try to get a mismatch on every play. And
I
it
wish
was
Aiden Hutchinson were in Jacksonville and not Detroit.
Yeah, it's what puzzles me about your Jaguars is they do seem to get a good pass rush most weeks, but when they play the Chiefs, they can't get to Mahomes. I don't get it, because I don't know if the Chiefs do anything special to keep Mahomes safe. And we even saw Mahomes on a gimpy leg, who was not even close to full speed last year, be able to still avoid the rush. It's just like they haven't figured out a scheme to keep him, tight in the pocket. Because if Mahomes drifts out of the pocket, that's when he's dangerous. He's looking to throw, but if nothing opens up, he's so good at making that ball fake and driving the defensive players crazy. And then he'll get his, 10, 15 yards, look like he's just going to cruise out of bounds. And all of a sudden he'll cut it back up for another 5 or 10. It's he seems to have the Jaguars number, and I don't understand it, because he got so much talent on that defense.
Well, in 2 games last year, guess how many times this Jaguars sacked Mahomes?
I'm thinking 0. Maybe, yeah. I couldn't remember him going down. You are the master of the stats, but I could not.
Unfortunately, I don't remember it because it never happened.
Yeah, I couldn't see. I didn't remember Mahomes being on his back. I remember him being really slow. I remember him being on his back without getting really hit. But yeah, it's amazing with guys like Josh Allen that can put so much pressure on a quarterback, how they have not been able to figure out a way to scheme to get Mahomes. It just is it's astonishing because they put a lot of pressure on everybody else, and even those physical quarterbacks. I mean, how many sacks did Josh Allen have against Josh Allen last year when they played? It's the kind of thing where you look at this and you go, man, you're overdue to getting to Mahomes, but he doesn't tend to get caught all that many times. He doesn't get sacked that often. So, that's going to be the big part of the game. Can you put enough pressure to force him to throw the ball away? That's the kind of negative yardage of just not getting any yards that you get with the Chiefs. You usually don't lose yards against the Jaguars if you're the Chiefs. So, the Jaguars' hope is to force bad passes, force him to throw the ball away. That's like a victory on any given play against Mahomes.
And secondly, keep Travis Kelsey, assuming he plays, and I think Kelsey plays, under wraps because in both games last year, Kelsey caught 20 passes. I'm not kidding, 20 for 179 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not bad.
Yeah, he had 20 catches. He sold 5 bags of popcorn, and he was parking cars in the morning before the game. It's amazing. I don't understand how he never ages, and I hope he never does because he's such an exciting player to watch. But the Chiefs, the big thing with the Chiefs is we saw some glimmers of hope that Rashee Rice, their rookie wide receiver, looked pretty darn good against Detroit in limited snaps. Kadarius Toney was getting open. So was Sky Moore. They just had hands of stone. And it was great to see Justin Ross out there getting some reps. He's been coming back from, like a career threatening injury last year.
Hey,
So
by the way, for your Clemson fan, by the way, for Clemson fans, guess who was his quarterback in college?
wasn't that Lawrence?
Yep,
Yeah.
when Clemson beat Alabama in Santa Clara, I remember Justin Ross running past the whole Alabama defense.
He is fast, but he's also a big body guy. And the Chiefs have not had a fast, big body guy for a long, long time. He's going to make us old fans think good old Otis Taylor. It's we're going to be thinking about these short little passes that turn into big passes when he breaks tackles. He's just a strong guy he's fast, he's strong. uh, it's going to be interesting to see how much more he works into the game plan. The problem for fantasy football fans is trying to figure out which wide receiver is going to be the hot target on any given week. They've got 4 really good ones, and then they got Justin Watson, who I just don't understand how he gets open and how he makes plays, but he does over the top. And if you need a little change of pace, Richie James made the team because of his kick and punt returning ability, but he's a decent guy that you can have as a threat also. So, and then you add into the fact that McKinnon will be a solid threat out of the backfield as usual. There's a lot of targets for Mahomes to go after other than just Kelsey, but it's so good to see the big guy back.
Yeah, and don't forget Isaiah Pacheco, who looks like he should be the world's strongest running back.
Yeah, he does look like he should be showing up for like a Mr. Olympian contest in the offseason. He's a big dude and he's a good back. I just worry about him having the vision to find those gaps because he seems to get to the hole, and it's like not quite ready for him yet. He hasn't quite developed those NFL skills of reading the line yet. But boy, you get him the ball out, out of out in the open field, and he is a playmaker. I just think they had a weird rotation last week where nobody seemed to really get in that rhythm. I would expect to see maybe a little more of Pacheco and a little less of Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year or this week, because I think they need to establish more of a running game, and I think Pacheco's that guy. But nice having three running backs who can all catch the ball out in the flat if you need them.
What do you think will be a key starting with the Chief offense on Sunday in Jacksonville?
They need to run the ball. They need to get Mahomes a break. If Mahomes is back there on, second and, you know, 13, 14 yards every series, he's going to have a hard time moving the ball consistently against the Jaguars. You always say keeping the ball, ball control, not giving the ball away. But with the Chiefs, that doesn't seem to be a problem with Mahomes. I mean, he'll take his chances downfield, but he's making smart plays when he's doing it. But they need to get a better running game because if you let that Jaguar defense just come with the rush, I think the odds are likely that they're going to get him this year if he's put in second and plus yardage.
Yeah, and with the Jaguar defense, I think Jackson's got to get pressure on Mahomes. We couldn't sneeze on him last year. And then secondly, make somebody else not named Travis Kelce beat you. Because Travis Kelce killed us last year. He's killed everybody. Make somebody else beat you. If that means Guy Moore's going over the middle, Kadarius Toney finally remembers how to catch a football, so be it. But don't have Travis Kelce beat you. It's like, don't have Tyreek Hill beat you. Like, why the Chargers are playing man to man against the fastest player in the NFL, Lord knows. You guys had him, so you guys know everything about him. It's like, why are the Chargers face Tyreek Hill twice a year? Why are they letting him go down the run whatever route he wants? Don't let Travis Kelce beat you. And
No, and
secondly,
yeah,
pressure Mahomes. Pressure. Because make him eat grass. Make him eat grass.
you got to keep Mahomes in the pocket. You can't let him stray from the pocket. He is so dangerous when he gets outside the tackles, and he's got that option to kind of snooker the defense to think that he's running, and then all of a sudden he finds Kelsey, and gets a nice 15, 20-yard gain down the field. Those are the plays that kill you as a defense because you flush him out of the pocket. You think you got him contained, and then all of a sudden he pulls the old magic act, and you know we're going to see a little bit of that. We're going to see a little razzle dazzle from the Chiefs. We always do, but you're right. They can't let their best player on the field beat them. And as crazy great as Patrick Mahomes is, Kelsey is the best receiver on that team. You cannot let the best guy downfield beat you. So they do need to contain Kelsey. But I think the only way to do that is to try to knock him on his fanny. He's such a strong player, though. And he's such a smart player. He knows how to avoid that contact at the line of scrimmage and actually, kind of make the guys lose him early in the play. And I don't get it. Just like I don't get Tyreek Hill in man coverage, but Kelsey just is that special player that finds a way to get open, even when the defense tries to key on him.
And then what do you think will be a key for the Chief defense on Sunday?
Chiefs defense needs to get some takeaways because they're going to give up yardage. This is not a top 10 defense by any stretch of the imagination. This is a defense that is going to bend and hopefully not break. But the best way to do that, the best way to contain a team when you're not a top 10 defense is to take the ball away. And they're pretty good at that. They've got some good ball hawkers in that secondary. They got some hard hitters in that front seven. So I think they're going to be able to put some heat on the Jaguars ball carriers and try to make some plays because you're not going to stop this offense all day long. You just kind of get them off the field at key times. And if the Jaguars are kind to my Chiefs and give the ball up in their own territory, that just makes it more and more difficult to beat the Chiefs. I mean, we saw that the Chiefs can go 90 plus yards to get a score against the Jaguars when they need, but Jaguars just have to take care of the ball because the Chiefs will be coming for the ball. They are going to put a lot of pressure from multiple looks on Trevor Lawrence, and they're going to all in the idea of getting the ball, though. It's not just to get to Trevor Lawrence. It's to force bad plays so they can make a play on the ball. If the Jaguars don't turn the ball over, I don't see the Chiefs beating them because the Chiefs defense will give up yards.
Well, I didn't think you would say I didn't think you would say if the Chiefs don't get turnovers, the Jags would end up winning this game.
Yeah, I don't like the matchup at home here
Why
for the
don't you like?
Jaguars
Why don't you like the matchup?
because you can't keep beating a team forever in the NFL.
I don't know. I don't know. The Chiefs seem to beat everybody in the AFC West.
They do. They do in the West, but that's a whole lot different. Until I mean, here's the thing with the Jaguars. They've got a good young team that's continuing to get better, and they're starting to believe in themselves, and that's a dangerous team to face. And they've got a chip on the shoulder because they got beat by the Chiefs, and they didn't look good in doing it. I mean that drive that the Chiefs pulled off in the playoffs with Mahomes on the bench was less like, what is going on here? But the fact that they have not been able to get to Travis or to Patrick Mahomes and have not been able to stop Kelsey, those are the two things I think they're going to be concentrating on this week. And the Chiefs are coming in a little rusty still. They haven't gotten into that midseason form. Remember, this is a Chiefs team last year that was like, what, 4-2? And people were like, they're no longer the best in the West. Yeah, right. They went on a nice run after that. So the Chiefs get off to a slow start. This is the time to take advantage of that if you are the Jaguars.
And I think with the Jaguar offense, it's going to be simple. Can the Jaguars make plays? Because it's going to be, can the Jaguars make plays and keep Patrick Mahomes drinking Gatorade?
Yeah, and the big key there is the Chiefs are really good at being physical right at the line of scrimmage, not letting the wide receivers get off the line of scrimmage. The only guy that was getting off the line of scrimmage against us was the Sun God last week. Everybody else was getting jammed at the line of scrimmage. And when they do that against the wideouts, they do a lot better. They're getting some pressure. I mean, it was a good, solid defensive effort for the Chiefs last week. They only gave up 14 points. Yes, Detroit looked a little rusty on the offensive side, just as you usually see teams look early in the season. But hey, it's only week 2. The Jaguars offense, you had your moments where they didn't look as smooth as they'll look mid-season. But I am a little bit worried about this game. I'll tell you, I'm a big homer for my Chiefs. There's no doubt. And I think they got a chance, obviously, of winning this game. But they need turnovers against the Jaguars. If they do not win the turnover battle, they will not win this game.
And be honest with you, I mean, I don't know if I'm biased or any way, but I think Evan Ingram could be a sneaky good fantasy play because Sam LaPorta made plays against you guys, and Evan Ingram's mismatch nightmare. Yes, we know the Kansas City defense is fast. They've got dudes everywhere. Who's that? Who's that nickel back? Trent McDuffie is a baller. That
Oh,
guy could play.
man.
That guy could play anywhere.
And he's playing out of position. That's not his preferred
I mean,
position.
McDuffie's not a slot corner. I mean, I wouldn't be.
No. No, but he is dynamite in that position, and they have an embarrassment of riches in the backfield now, and that's a nice thing to see because I can't remember the last time the Chiefs could say that with good young talent. We've usually had a big hole in the defensive backfield. We've had some talent there during our Super Bowl years, but last year was the first year that we had a good set of defensive backs. And it showed late in the season because they're all first and second year guys last year. So they got a lot out of them. And they had some guys playing that were like fifth, sixth round draft picks and looking good. The Chiefs have a way of finding those good, talented, physical players in the defensive backfield, but they really gelled. And man, I am a big fan of the defensive side of the ball for the coach. Since Spags came over there, that has looked like a whole different team. No, they're still not a top 10 defense, but they take the ball away and they put teams in bad positions on some drives. And that's what you like to see with a good physical team like the Chiefs. And hey, who knows? Maybe they are a top 10 defense now. It's possible because they do have a lot of good young talent there. They've got such a great rotation on the front line now. That's a big key to their defense that they didn't have in the past either. Again, we had a couple of good pass rushers in the past. We haven't had that deep of a line where you could just get the rotation going and get these guys that can get to the ball. They've got some more playmakers this year. Still don't think they're top 10 defense. So that's why I think they got to they got to win the turnover battle. And when you got Mahomes at quarterback, you're probably not going to turn the ball over more than once or twice at the absolute worst. If one of the receivers gives up a fumble or Pacheco does, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, gives up
Or
a fumble.
Kadarius Tony goes Pac-Man and gives the ball to the other team.
I'm calling him Whoops Tony after that performance. Is like Kadarius Whoops Tony. It just is crazy to see that happen. And some of that is just the Thursday night weirdness too. How many times have we seen on Thursday night or Monday night, if a guy gets off to a bad start, it just goes downhill from there. And that seems to be what happened to Kadarius Toney. I was impressed to see him out on the field and running routes. He only got about 17 snaps during the game. Boy, he made them all count because he dropped 4 passes and gave up a touchdown. So if we see a little more of Tony in the rotation, it's going to be interesting to see if he can put a bad game behind him. He's still a tremendous playmaker, and he's probably the quickest guy that Mahomes has had since Tyreek Hill left. So I look at him being a good game breaker type guy. I mean, we saw it with the punt return in the Super Bowl. This guy can make plays. Now we just got to teach him how to catch the pass from Mahomes, and we'll be all fine.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, I am a little worried about the Jag offensive line because I feel like the Jags offensive line will be an issue. No Cam Robinson. And I mean, Detroit's offensive line is probably a top 4 or 5 O-line in the league. And you guys got a ton of pressure without Chris Jones. So get Chris Jones back. You sacked Trevor Lawrence 7 times in both games last year. So I hope Trevor's not running for his life because that could be bad news.
Yeah, that's going to be the key. You need to cause these negative plays on defense, whether it's a loss of yardage or even better, the loss of a ball. Those are going to be the keys. The Chiefs are going to give up yards, and Trevor Lawrence is going to make some plays. You just got to get that little drive killing play early in the downs to put them behind the chains. If you do that, you got a good chance of beating this team. But I still say, and it's hard for me to say as a Chiefs fan, and admitting this to a Jaguar fan hurts, Big D. But if they don't win the turnover battle, I think this is going to be a tough game for them to pull off, unless, again, we see Mahomes and Kelsey just go nuts. And that's a possibility at any given time. But on the defensive side of the ball, we need to make plays. We need to get the ball away because otherwise, this offense, when it gels for Jaguars, is just going to beat up on a lot of people. They're going to score a lot of points this year if they can keep the pressure off of Trevor Lawrence, and that's the big if, because they looked better to me last week, and it, you know they looked better opening holes for the running game than they did protecting Trevor Lawrence. And I just don't understand, is it more of a run centric offensive line? Like the Chiefs are better at pass protection and they can't open holes in the running game. It stuns me for having such great linemen, but they're a pass centric team. I'm wondering if the Jaguars offensive line are just better at the run game.
Yeah, everybody's O-line's got its strengths and weaknesses. One more question. Are we going to have any weather concerns? Because I'm looking up the forecast, and there could be. And trust me, I know I'm a Florida native. Could there be some weather heading Duval County's way? I mean, no Hurricane Lee, thankfully, but
Yeah, I am worried about some showers and thunderstorms off and on during the game. Maybe not right at the beginning of the game, but maybe hour in, I would start looking at that threat. It's going to be typical Florida weather, though. You're going to have to chase the radar picture rather than try to discern anything off of the radar, off of the forecast models. But there will be showers and thunderstorms. I wouldn't even be surprised if we had a lightning delay during this game. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern start. That is a time where this time of the year, the the typical Florida thunderstorms can pop up a little bit earlier.
yeah, I think it's just Florida in September. What else do you expect? It's going to be hot. It's going to be sticky. Might be wet. So what? I'm just glad it's not snowing.
There you go. No hurricanes, so that's the good news. We don't need those headaches for you Florida guys.
Yeah, we've had enough of them the past few years. Send them out to no way. All right, Dennis. Thanks for hopping on. Hope we wish you Chiefs well, and hopefully this game ends at a 70-70 tie.
Well, I'm looking forward to lots of points because I am filthy in fantasy football players between the two teams. But I think it's going to be a very entertaining game, Big D, and thanks for having me on.